All right, here we are, fifth and final video. I'm a little sad that these have to end. Maybe we need like a season two or something like that. I don't know what that season would look like, but there's always another season, isn't there? All right. Hey, let's just revisit where we've been, and then we're going to finish really strong. So, first of all, we began all of these videos by recognizing that the world is changing in ways that is revealing an opportunity for those who teach, lead, and bring groups together to understand that we've got to move away from a few people having the answers to designing the kinds of experiences that unlock the collective wisdom from as many people as possible in learning environments, training, seminars, events, meetings, workshops, conferences, to teams and organizations that are trying to elevate their shared identity or shape their future in some important way. This is a whole new way of leading and convening and teaching. And we talked about at XCHANGE what goes on above the surface, right? And it's all about unlocking collective intelligence. And there's 3 steps to do that. There's a phase of the process called the initiate phase, then we design, and then we facilitate. And then our next video, we talked about what goes on below the surface and why it is that so many organizations are turning to this particular approach, because not just of what's happening that's visible, but also what's going on to make all of this work. And then here in this final video, what we're going to do is we're going to give you a simple playbook. So the video might be a little bit longer than some of the others because I need to really unpack this. But I hope that you've enjoyed these thus far. And I hope these initial videos have helped you to realize that there's more to this than just the 3 steps I'm going to give you right now. That this is an opportunity that the world is asking for. And we're really, really excited for so many of you who we haven't even met yet to go apply this work in the world. So let's give you 3 simple steps. And these 3 steps are the same 3 steps that we use in all the different environments where we lead, teach, and facilitate in different types of group settings. The first step is what we call the intro. This is the introduction of a powerful, well-crafted question. And we're going to come back and talk about some different examples of questions that you could go use. The second step is what we call the conversation. So usually we present a question or sometimes multiple questions, and then we'll usually give everyone the steps to the conversation, which there's different options for what goes on inside a conversation. And keep in mind that most of our work is done in larger group settings. And so oftentimes we're moving from presenting a question to a group of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, even hundreds of people, moving them into small groups, and then bringing them back where we bring them back from the small groups, however many there might be. And we invite people to report out from these small groups, to share from that smaller conversation. We call this a report out. On this video, we're going to focus most of our energy on how to send a group into a conversation and examples of great questions to use. So let's start with the questions here, and I'm just going to free flow, and you don't need 2 of me. So I'll give you 4 different types of questions. First question is what we call a purpose question. And a purpose question allows a group to connect to a deeper sense of meaning or purpose, either in general or around a specific topic. Let me give you an example. Let's say you bring a group of women entrepreneurs together who are coming together to share solutions and ideas in their businesses. And maybe they're part of a larger group or a network. We do a lot of work with the Women's Presidents Organization, so I was just thinking of them. And let's say they come together for one of their quarterly or monthly chapter gatherings. A purpose question could be as simple as this. Could be as simple as starting the meeting, because a purpose question is often a question that we use at the very beginning of any learning experience, but starting that gathering by presenting the question, why is being here today important to you? By the way, when we design questions, words create worlds, and I'll give you an interesting variation where just one word can strengthen the power of that question. Why is it that by choosing to be here today that this is important or meaningful for you? Right? But when we ask a group, why is being here important to you? And we let them reflect, and then they go into small group conversations and they share their answers with each other. And then we bring them out, and maybe a few of them share in front of the whole group. The power of that question early in any convening is that it transcends, it supersedes, it goes so far beyond the power of I, the leader, teacher, guide, telling everybody why being here is important, which is the 1.0 version of how do we get everybody to experience a sense of purpose or meaning around this gathering, is telling, controlling, trying to inspire it by giving them our answer. Well, why not invite those answers from within? I'll give you a variation on the purpose question. A variation on the purpose question, and depending on the setting or the group or the organization, this can work really well. Some cases this wouldn't fit. You'd have to use your own judgment. But a variation could be if you brought an organization or a team together that has any history at all, you could ask them to think about a story that reminds them more than any other story why it is that the work that they do is important in this world. And see, the power of that variation on the purpose question is when we connect through these stories that we all have decided remind us why what we do is important. The conversation is grounded in a reality, and the stories bring our whole selves alive because we get to enter in and experience and feel the feelings of those stories. And there's a vividness to that variation that can be really interesting. So that's one type of question, is a purpose question. I'll give you a second type of question. It's called a high point question. Now, a high point question is a question that invites participants, and this could work in any setting, to go into the past and to bring an example into the present that can benefit the present moment. So here's an example. Let's say you have a sales organization that comes together on, it doesn't matter what the interval is, weekly, monthly, quarterly. And we could ask a question in the last month or since we last gathered, whatever time frame you want, share an example of a customer conversion experience or a presentation you gave, an experience of you performing at your best so that we could learn from each other's moments when we've been at our best. All right. Now, that's just one example. You could take that topic and plug in any topic that you want. Now, that's an example where we bring stories in of where have we been at our best to learn from those stories. But you could go a lot of different directions with a high point question. Here's an example. We've been running an experiment here at XCHANGE, open to the public, where we've been running public webinars, bringing in different types of coaches and consultants who are learning about our method. And we often have given them the question in the face of COVID right now. If you think about the last 6 months, what's an example of how you have adapted to change in a powerful or positive way? And then they all go into small breakouts. They share these stories, these real world examples. And what you'll learn later on in the process is, depending on what they're doing inside of those small groups, they could not only be sharing these high point examples or stories, but they can then have another conversation where they study the factors of success that enabled those moments. They could study what have they learned just by hearing their own and each other's stories. So high point stories is really an invitation to bring in the best of what has been, to study peak experiences, moments of excellence, to study learnings or success factors or anything else that we could take from our previous experiences. Here's a third type of question. It's what we call a continuity question. A continuity question is a question that invites participants to explore, no matter what changes in the future, what's working really well right now that we could learn from. What's working really well right now, or what's gotten us to where we're at if you're doing this inside of a team, that no matter how we change or evolve, we want to nurture, protect, or preserve. That kind of question can allow a team to get really clear on what are the strengths, what's the aspects of our history and our legacy, what is it that's part of what got us to where we're at that we want to make sure that we preserve, even as we look to change and evolve, even in significant ways into the future. It's called a continuity question. There's other variations of a continuity question, even including something as simple as, what are you learning right now that matters most for this particular group? What can you appreciate in your life or in your world? Sometimes, especially in situations and moments of chaos or stress or tension or even despair, inviting participants to connect to something that they can notice through an appreciative lens can be really helpful as we're facing difficult challenges in different group settings. Now, the last type of question we're going to share with you on this video is what we call a future-oriented question. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It's any question that invites us effectively to stand in the future and see a different world. So here's an example. One example could be, let's say you're running a training, a conference, a workshop, a peer-to-peer learning community. Let's say somebody just taught something really important or valuable. You could ask the participants, and this is a way of amplifying that passive learning into an active learning experience, and also increasing the probability that everyone will do something with that learning because it'll increase their motivation. And here's the example. Let's say somebody just taught something in a learning environment. We could now ask the participants, what could become possible that wasn't previously possible based on what you just learned? And prepare to share that story in your small groups. Another variation of that, whether it's a learning environment or any other convening or group gathering, is imagine 3 or 6 months from now or a year from now, you pick any time frame. If you woke up and looked around and whatever we've accomplished as a team, if it's a system level conversation, or whatever you've accomplished as an individual, if it's a learning situation to serve individual participants, what would you love to see happening that would give you the most energy? Or what kinds of images and possibilities would you love to be celebrating? Imagine we're celebrating 1 year from now. What is it that you would like to be celebrating in your life? And you can unpack and invite and expand these questions in all different types of directions, as you're noticing. Even in real time, I'm giving you lots of variations, right? So again, the questions that we ask in any group setting are fateful. The future changes before the answers arrive. What does that mean? How does that work? Well, if you've ever put a lens in front of your eyes, like this one right here. Now, this is not a real lens, in case you were curious. But when we put a lens in front of our eyes, a contact lens or prescription glasses, it changes the future even before we open our eyes. Our questions serve as a lens that change what we see and what we bring into our interactions in our worlds. Our questions are important. I'm going to give you just a quick tip on the conversational steps that you could use with these questions. So a simple one is present a question, give everybody a moment to reflect on that question, and then invite them into breakout rooms. If you're using Zoom, there's a function that allows you to move them into small groups. Let them know they'll have a window of time. Could be 5 to 10 minutes. And if you had 3 participants all sharing an answer to a question, give them at least 6, 7, 8 minutes. And give them at least 2 steps. Step 1 is have everybody go around and in a minute or less share your response to the question. Step 2 is to go back around and maybe have an open conversation where each participant can share either what they learned or appreciate about what everybody else shared. And then finally bring them back into the larger group. And you can invite maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or everybody, depending on the size of the overall group, to share anything that they'd like to notice or appreciate from that small group interaction. By the way, you could run this whole experience or experiment. If you have a group of 4, 5, 6 people, you don't need to use the breakout functionality. All right. I hope this was helpful. I hope this series of videos was helpful for you. I just noticed there's a delay between the sound and the image. So that's not you. If you thought, oh my gosh, what's happening? That's not you. It's me. It's not you. It's me. I hope you enjoyed these videos. And if you'd like to learn more about Exchange, I'd encourage you to find a way to talk to somebody on our team, to learn about our upcoming trainings, or if somebody referred you to these videos and they've already been trained or certified in the Exchange approach, go right back to them and work with them on how to bring this approach into any environment where you are leading, teaching, or convening groups in important and meaningful ways. Take care, everybody.